Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome all to our virtually held meeting of the VEM committee for October. Glad to see you all here, and we shall plough on. Our first item of business, as always, is declaration item 379/20, declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest. And as ever, I'm happy to receive those now or as we arrive at an item. Do we have any? Okay, I shall take that as no. So we move on swiftly to item 380/20, which is apologies for absence. Chris, it's good to see you back. Do we have any apologies for absence, please?
Thank you so much. I can only think of, as far as Dennis Crawford is concerned, he gave his apologies yesterday, so I'll put them down today. He's not very well.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Is anybody else missing, Chris?
I've got on here that people that have, oh, Stuart Wright's in there. I've got Colin Burdett, Mark Taylor. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, guys, before we move on into the body of the meeting, item 383/20, which is the budget review. I understand, and I include myself, there's been a technical hitch in getting this information out to you guys, and this is quite a significant item. And therefore, we're going to defer this item and convene a special VEM meeting next week, which should be a short, brief meeting. But given the subject matter, it gives members the opportunity to study the documentation and for us to have a meaningful conversation. So just to give you an early sight, that item is going to be deferred. Okay. Moving on, item 3.2.20, health and safety, to receive a report. Would this be yourself, Councillor Harvey?
Hi, good afternoon, Chair. I'm really sorry, but due to...
Oh, Chris,
yeah.
I do apologise. I do this at least once a meeting, don't I?
What?
I jump an item.
Yes, it's health and safety.
I've jumped an item, Chris. So
12 minutes, yeah.
Yes, Chris, please hold fire. In my eagerness to hear your dulcet tones, Chris, I jumped an item.
Okay.
And the item I should have gone to was 381/20, which is the minutes.
Thank you.
So I will take us through page by page, and please put your hand up either on the screen or in chat, please, so I can take your comments. Okay, so page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. Can I move the minutes, please, colleagues?
Approve the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Most appreciated. Now, my favourite part of the meeting, 382/20, health and safety update from Councillor Harvey.
Well, thanks for that, both. Very kind of you in your favourite part of the meeting. But I'm afraid, due to various family issues, I've not been able to go down and do what I should have done. I'm hoping I'm in the Carnegie tomorrow morning, so I'm hoping to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do a quick tour tomorrow. But the only thing I will say, I've not seen an update from Ellison Whittam of when Colin came in and did the COVID thing. Apart from that, that's all I've got to say at the minute. Cheers.
David, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Chris's comments.
But I will have a physical copy for you tomorrow, Chris, so we can work through it on our walk round.
Yeah, black, no sugar in a mug, please.
Well, good to hear you got your priorities sorted, Councillor Harvey. Okay, is there any comments from colleagues on that item? Okay, well, I'm going to move on then. You've already heard me reference the item 383/20. I'm going to move on to 384/20, which is events, update on upcoming events. Is that yourself, David, or Tom?
Yeah, I'll take this one if that's all right.
Thank
just
you.
for the first thing, I might bring Tom in just to put some more detail around the first one. There's very little on the horizon, I'm afraid, you know, due to the difficult circumstances that we face. We've had pretty much 100% of cancellations of planned events, parties, dances, dance shows, wedding receptions, etc. The good news is, as I reported last month, a vast majority of those potential hirers are rescheduling for 2021, and hopefully things will change for the better and we can get back to normality. In terms of upcoming events, we've got the Mayor's Charity Pumpkin Carving fundraiser on Friday week, which is the 23rd of October. And if you want to hear a few more details about that, I'll bring in Tom and Joe, because it's their little baby. They've been talking to the Mayor about that one. And unfortunately, the second one on the slide there, the Heidi High Cabaret Show, again, that's fallen foul to COVID. We've had to reassess the risk assessments and things. So that's also been cancelled, which is really sad. But again, you know, talking to the guys who are going to deliver it, they're planning to do the show in 2021. So hopefully we'll have it back at the Carnegie at some point. I don't know whether you want to speak about the Mayor's Charity Pumpkin event, Tom or Joe?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. Yeah, in regards to the event, it's all the planning's going ahead as sorted. We've got the marketing strategy sorted, and the second part of the marketing, which has a lovely picture of Mark Robinson getting hit by a custard pie, which I'm sure everyone will be fond of, will be going up tomorrow. And the getting all the teams together is being sorted out, and I've been trading emails with the various teams that will be joining us for it. And other than that, it's just making sure we've got everything ready for the evening. So when it comes to doing the broadcast next week, we're all ready to go. But we've already had some. We've got the donation page up online on Just Giving, which has gone out on all of the socials as well as posters. And we have actually already had a donation or two come in for that. So I would hope that by the time the actual event comes around, that we'll have reached the target of £300 raised. It looks like that's going to be possible.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to update on generally on events, Tom? Beyond that,
in regards to other events, this is the main one we're focusing on right now.
okay. Is there any comments or questions from colleagues, please? And I do apologise that I can't visually see. Most of the screens are blanked out. So if you could put your hand up in the chat, that'd be most appreciated. Councillor Jeremy Terry, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm never quite sure if Christmas fits in with ALP or VEM. And seeing as we haven't raised Christmas stuff at ALP, I'm taking the opportunity to raise it here. I wondered, David, if there is any update, just thinking ahead to November and December, about Christmas. It's quite sad seeing sort of Christmas events around the country sort of, dropping like flies. And I'm, very keen that we try to do something in Thetford. Is there an opportunity to update us on anything about that now, or is that best for another time?
I can give you a brief update of some of the things that we're hopefully planning, but things change so quickly that it may or may not go ahead. What we have done is traditionally we have the Christmas lights physical switch on a Friday evening, and it was supposed to be November the 26th or 27th, whichever one falls on the Friday. Clearly we can't do that because traditionally we draw quite a large crowd. But what we are going to do is do some pre-evening filming of a virtual light switch on. So hopefully people will know that the physical Christmas lights are paid and put up by and are organised by ALP. The actual events around that evening weekend is organised by VEM. So traditionally we've had stuff in the gardens. We're trying to put together an event that we might be able to deliver in the gardens under really strict conditions. Again, we're just trying to go through the mechanics of that and make sure it all complies with the risk assessments. So hopefully we'll get something out in the next week or two about that. We are filming messages from Father Christmas We're doing something on Friday because we've been graced with his presence in Thetford. So he's come all the way from the North Pole to see us, to do a little film with us. And we'll be virtually putting out those kind of films throughout the lead up and the weekend. Yeah, unfortunately, it's really taken its toll. I know we're trying to support others' events. I know you're planning an event at CBC, which we're trying to support you with that, with different items and things. So hopefully we can do that elsewhere. I've had a meeting with Chilterns, and they're very keen to continue with Letters to Santa this year. And we're trying to put a nice little quirky spin on that to make people realise that Christmas spirit is still alive and well. And again, we're going to be doing some stuff over the week to do that. So we're trying our best, but it's very difficult under the circumstances. But if anybody is lucky enough to have events and things that they're putting on, please get in touch, and the guys can at least advertise that on our socials and website. And hopefully we can just keep everybody's spirits up.
Thank you for that, David. Is there comments or questions from anybody else? Okay, guys, I put a comment in the chat. Can we get the link out for the Just Giving page to all councillors, and then I can also share it on the mayor's page at the same time as well, please.
Yeah, I'll email that around.
Thank you very much, Carla. Got your hand up, please.
Yes, I thank you, Chair. Just 2 points, really. One of them is I'm still struggling with actually getting preparation and get myself up to date with what's going on in advance for the meetings. I'd like to know the content of the meetings well in advance. And despite being sick the past week and only a portion of them, I'm now trying to catch up with things. I do realize that for this meeting, and I am vice chair on this one, I want to have at least the agenda in advance. I looked in all the emails and all of the links through the Teams app and everything, and I couldn't find it. It took me a little bit longer to get in the word in because I was still here trying to find it. Perhaps I missed it in a file, but no, I haven't got the agenda for this meeting. So I'm trying to wing it. However, I shouldn't have to. So that's my point. There's still been quite a few issues, technical issues, and don't seem to be getting all the documentation, and that does make our work and our part of the decision a bit harder. So that's my first point. The second one is in regards to the events. There's Councillor Jeremy and Sir Brooks were commenting. It does seem to me that the whole subdivision of the new committees is all nice, fine, and dandy, and it all's been put in place now. But initially, if you go back right to the beginning, when we all came with the concept of reorganizing the committees, was to simplify things, and so that the committees could collaborate a bit more effectively across committees, especially if events overlap with the marketing and etc. I'm struggling to see and the effectiveness of how this is being put into practice now. So it seems to me we're going to have the same problems as we had before with this new structure, which is
Carla,
segregation.
Carla, you're making some really valid points. I'm not. I think maybe there's items coming up where this would sit more in keeping with the item agenda. This is specifically around the event. Not that I want to curtail your input.
No, I appreciate that, Chair, and I respect that. However, as you can see, I would not know that because I don't have the agenda. It brings me to my first point.
Can I just interject there? I do take your point, Councillor Barretto, and I was just having a conversation with the chair earlier, and this is very relevant and it keeps coming up, and I do appreciate there are issues. How do we consistently find documentation through what medium? Which one do we all agree is easier to access? And it's something that I know the town clerk is going to propose that all councillors and senior management team get together and make those final decisions of this is the consistent approach we make. Having said that, this meeting, the agenda and some of the supporting documents was sent round at 11 o'clock on Sunday by myself, and you were included in the email address. So you should have received the agenda for this meeting.
I did look, and I did look on my junk email as well. Should the email have gone to an alternative box? Unfortunately, I can't find it. I'm not saying it hasn't been sent. I'm just saying I can't find it. Therefore, I can't read it. Can't read it. I can't prepare for the meeting. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's taken us valid points. Thank you both for your contributions. But I'm going to try and draw us back to the actual item now, which is events. I don't have any other hands up, so. Okay, so is there any more comments, please, before I move this item on? Are members satisfied they have enough information about what we got going forward? I'm sure David will update us the nearer we get to the Christmas build up and further detail on that.
May I add something, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Brenda. Yes, please.
I know we can't have this big to-do thing, but is there anything we can do on the marketplace? So like having crafters stores and things like this, because people will still be going out, even if it was just for 2 weekends in the lead up to Christmas.
David, would you like to receive?
Yeah, we have had a couple of inquiries, and I think, you know, looking at the traditional Tuesday and Saturday markets, then that can actually be delivered safely. So it is something like that we could do. It depends how many we get forthcoming. So that may be a post. If we decide to do that, maybe a post that we put out generally to encourage people to come along. But again, as I said, we're really trying to tie down the nitty-gritty of what we can actually do over the next week or so.
Thank you.
You're okay with that? Thank you. Okay, well, I've got no more hands up. So I presume on the next event coming up, which is next Friday, the 23rd, Tom, and obviously there's been some concerns about how we manage that because we need to be socially distanced. That's 6 teams of 3.
The 5 or 6 teams are free, yeah. And in regards to making sure everyone's distanced, we've already arranged that and made sure that everyone's going to be kept at a safe distance, because of course it's, you know, going to be recorded, so it needs to be done as well as possible, and it will be in that regard.
And we have a judging panel, so I have very much a vision of almost a pumpkin themed great bake off.
That's essentially what we were basing it off, yeah.
Excellent. With the possibility that this might please more people than not, that I get gunked.
Inevitability is the word you're after.
Okay. Thank you for filling me with that confidence, Tom. Thank you, colleagues. Is there anything from anybody else? Okay, but I'm going to move that on then, colleagues. Thank you. The next item is just generally for noting. It's 38520. We brought this forward, and this is the VEM forward plan. And this is just to give us a focus as a committee about how we take projects forward and keep, you know, try and stay strategic. Useful. The plan you see before us, we have another line that David and I see, and I'll make sure that gets shared out to you guys next month. That contains. So I'm just. Whoever that is, can they mute their screen for the moment, please? Thank you. And that contains key events that are coming up in the next next three months, and that would contain Christmas. Remembrance Day is a key event, although it's not within our control. It's delivered by the Royal British Legion. It's still a significant event. So this is just for noting. I think David's highlighted we don't have a meeting in December, but it doesn't. The work never stops, even though there's not a meeting. And currently we have no work scheduled for March, but it's there for comment and for members to feed in. Terry, I've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it for noting. I did have a couple of observations, if I can. The first is around the marketing strategy. I appreciate we're going to talk about that today, but I suspect there'll be a need to talk about that again in the future. It's a first draft today, so maybe November or January will be a good opportunity to see the sort of revised version, taking on board our comments from today. The other was around Christmas and sort of Christmassy events. Slightly different this year. Obviously, I appreciate things are not as normal, but I wondered if it might be an idea to, on the forward plan in January, actually schedule to have a bit of a review as to how Christmas went and you know, what we've learned and what we can do better next year. I always find we're not terribly good at Town Council about reviewing things in a timely manner and learning and sort of building on that, ready for future events. A bit different, you know, this year. Who knows what next year might be like? But I just wonder if we want to just sort of diarise a bit of time in January to have a bit of a recap and what we can build upon for the future.
Thank you. Well, for my part, that's exactly what this document should be encouraging us to do, is to schedule works in. I'll feed David into the conversation at the moment, but I'm comfortable with that's a timely point to actually feed that in. So, David, I don't know if you've got any comments on Terry's points.
Yes, I made a note to include that in the January forward plan. I know you are keen, and you've already instructed me to put events on the agenda as a standard item, so we can clearly include that in that agenda item in January. But yeah, you're right. Debriefs are always good, and sometimes they do go by the wayside, which is not good. Excellent,
thank you. Do I have any other comments, questions?
Can I just say something, please, Chair? Actually, the 3 items that you've got under October there, we are going to cover them in the agenda, and I suspect all of those 3 will be deferred to forthcoming months because they're all first initial discussion thoughts. But just going to November, we have got listed capital projects, and I think rather than get caught on the hop too much, we should be looking at possibly, we do talk a lot about the kind of projects that we want to get involved with and try and pursue. Over the years, we've talked about lots of different things, and some have slipped by the wayside. I think it's critical now that we actually prioritise some of those if we are going to go ahead with them. But it's also critical, we're going to have limited reserves and funding. So if you can forward any of your ideas for potential capital projects to me over the next couple of weeks, but look at the areas of priority in terms of why we're actually doing it, why should we do it, what is the point of doing it, how does it improve our current operation, and what potentially, if we did realise those projects, what were the tangible outcomes that we would have. And again, you know, we can't do everything all of the time in the next few months or even next year. So are they perceived as short, medium or long-term priorities? So we actually can start to put together a capital projects schedule rather than just talk about things off the cuff. That's just my point on that one, Chair. Thank you.
No, thank you. So in amongst that, there was a call to arms. I know. I feel like almost a veteran now, but I can remember there are projects that sit within this item that you and I were discussing back in 2015, and the only idea of the forward plan is to keep us focused on the strategic stuff rather than getting bogged down with what draws our attention on a day-to-day basis. Not that it should be ignored, but we also need to work on the long-term delivery. So the call to arms there is for us as members to put our thinking caps on ahead of next month's meeting about our capital projects. I don't have anybody else's arms up on that. Hands even. Arms is a bit too vigorous for this time of day. So I'm going to move us on to item 38620, which is the venue hire waiver policy. And this is to discuss and agree a proposal. I'm going to hand over to you again, David, if you don't mind.
So again, the some basic information was put together in the committee report that was circulated, and basically on the slide that you see in front of us, it shows the terms and conditions that we've got for a hirer whether they pay full rate or can apply for a concession rate. Now that's all set and standardised within the terms and conditions, but a full waiver of the higher fee is not. And we don't have a consistent or clear approach to that process. And this is what I think we need to try and think about how we do that going forward. There have been occasions when people have made an inquiry as to whether they can get a free hire. And what we've always done is traditionally brought it back on a case-by-case basis to VEM, and they have made that decision on the information that they provide. But surely there should be a more consistent approach of what is the criteria that you simply, if you're a bona fide not-for-profit or you're a registered charity, we know you can automatically apply for a concession rate and that's approved. Again, we need to have that kind of process in place for a total waiver of the venue fee. But there are areas that we also need to consider, and one of them is the fact that we only have so many opportunities at the venue. We can't give everything away free. And there are also other considerations as to what do we constitute as a typical event. Do we give away 6 hours worth of hire? Most events run from, say, 6 o'clock till midnight. But any setup or takedown outside those times, do we charge? There is an example of both those on the slide, the Taras and the Thetford Business Awards, both of them great events in their own right, and the VEM committee rightfully agreed to waive the fee for both of those. But they are big events that require a lengthy setup time and set down time. So again, the value of it is quite expensive. Sorry, Chair.
Listen, just that point, because it escaped me, and I apologise for this, colleagues. You reference an event. I'm actually an organiser, so I'm actually going to declare an interest at this stage. And Carla.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you, Carla, because I've just declared a pecuniary interest in this item as the organiser of the Tara Awards. Yeah. I'm going to ask you to take over the chairing of this item, and unless there's a specific question relating to the actual awards event, I will not take part in any further point in this debate.
Okay.
That's all right. No.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And
right, so,
sorry.
Yeah, do carry on and complete your line of thought, please.
Okay, and to just to continue that thought of how many opportunities that we should look at internally, we do already allocate 3 mayoral events a year. Traditionally, they're all weekend events, so Friday evenings. So the mayor has a civic reception. He also has 1 mayoral fundraiser event, and also his mayor's civic ball, usually towards the end of his term of office. The civic committee also delivers the mayor's civic service on a Sunday in the Guildhall Large Court, the Battle of Britain reception, and the Remembrance Sunday reception, usually in the Large Court as well. And annually, we do support the Royal British Legion's Remembrance concert in the Carnegie on a Friday evening prior to Remembrance Sunday. So they are all weekend opportunities that we all already allocate. So should we then set a specific number that we can look at? But if we get a really good application, we bring back to committee, or do we bring them back as we do now, case by case? So it's really your thoughts on that matter. Maybe it's something that we have to defer to another meeting, but that's my thoughts at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Brooks. Does any of the other fellow councillors want to comment on this? What's their views on it, please? Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Chair. I just think we need to keep the flexibility, because who knows what's going to come along. There may be obvious things. Thinking off the cuff is a big Sikh event may happen that we haven't got things, and we want to make that happen. I think one of the examples was when we had the Sikh event where we pouring the rain and we hosted them within the Guildhall that day. But I think we were scheduled to play our part in providing the venues anyway. And who knows what the future's going to bring. So I think it's very much a case-by-case basis of thing, because sometimes if the venue is not available, then it can't happen and they can't get it for free anyway. We've already got a pre-existing booking in there. So I think the flexibility is the key, and I'll carry on as we are with a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you for the Councillor Wright. Any other comments in regards to this point, please? Any other opposing views?
If I could say something, Carla.
Yes, Councillor Canham.
Sorry, my chat box is not coming up. I don't know why.
Not a problem. Do come in.
I'll sort it out. I agree with what Stuart said, because I think they should be done on a one-to-one basis, because the two events that you've just mentioned, if we look at them, they are actually events that involve a lot of Thetford itself. So as Stuart said, it could be a Sikh event, it could be something that's coming up, and we think, do you know what, if we gave that all free, but what I would want to do is, whenever we give away free, we need to know the costs of what it actually cost us. So you're saying extra staff time and all this, we need to make them costings so that we know what we're doing throughout the year.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. So it's fair to say,
Vice Chair, Councillor Jeremy's got his hand up.
Yeah, do go ahead, Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Carla. Just a couple of points, really. You can guarantee the second we adopt a policy, there'll be a request for something that doesn't fit to the policy, and it will come back to the committee, and we'll be asked if we support it, even though it's not in line with the policy, and I can probably guess that we probably would. So I do sympathise with the staff in trying to draw together a sort of framework that we accept. I agree with Brenda around sort of costing things. We produce an annual report as a council which lists our sort of support in terms of grants to groups. I think we should be also quantifying the support that we give in terms of free hire. Doesn't necessarily mean we need particular brownie points for it, but the public should be aware that we give X amount of £1,000 worth of free hire on top of grants and other expenditure. So I do think on the list that's on the screen we need to quantify and some sort of framework that outlines what the proposal is in terms of free hire and concession hire. But fully expecting and understanding that there will be occasions where the committee or the council will choose otherwise. Just one suggestion, David, when talking about concessions, just around defining not-for-profit. We've spoken in the previous slide about registered charities and not-for-profit groups. I just wonder if we're clear on what we think as a committee in terms of what is a not-for-profit group, and do groups need to be registered charities, and just around sort of definitions really and eligibility. So I'm quite happy if we sort of map this out and define it, but it's sort of tidying up of what really is the status quo, I think. Thank you.
There's 3 councils in agreement that should be on a case basis. I personally agree with both Councillor Canham and Jeremy, and particularly where their donation, well, when we facilitate services or products in kind, those do have a quantifiable value, and that can be converted in a way that people can actually see a reflection on what contributed back into the community, whether there's in hours of session hire or otherwise. So that is important, just to see value for money, even if we are giving it something away. But I do agree with the Councillor Wrights as well in the points that there will always be different cases with different circumstances. So a case-to-case basis makes sense, even if that takes a little bit longer to get things done. But I'm open to any other comments. Anyone else has to come in on this before we pass on? No, everybody's quiet. Right, should we make a decision that we keep it the way it is, or do we need to include anything else in this at all, please? Anybody? Should we keep it on case-to-case basis then?
Can I suggest that we ask David to cost the ones that we have identified and report back to us so that we can note them and confirm that we're happy with them as a starter, but then maybe just put into some sort of policy. Almost feels a bit strong really, but some sort of document that notes that we agree with the concessions and the proposals for free events.
Yeah, we can make just a little bit of a guideline. It gives us a guiding principle of how we go about it. Doesn't need to be set in stone, and still have flexibility for us to look at it case by cases. So yeah, I fully agree. So if Mr. Brooks can come back with a bit of more info on that for the next session. In regards to how we go about it, do we just settle that to be on a case-to-case basis, provided there's a guiding a guideline, a principle? Would that be agreeable for everybody? I'm assuming the silence will be a yes, and therefore we move on to the next item on the agenda. We'll pass it back to our chair then. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Very well done steering that item through. Thank you. That moves us on to item 38720, which is the marketing report. I believe this is you, young Tom.
Certainly don't feel young. Right, okay then. So as regards last month's statements on the marketing report, I have changed the layout to make it more concise on a weekly basis rather than being one big report for the month. So as people have seen, if they've looked at the documentation as it was sent out, that I've laid it out on a weekly basis. So you're able to see the sort of posts that are going out on both the Thetford Council pages and the Carnegie pages as well. And you'll notice that there's that at the bottom of it, which was the one thing I've noticed, because Facebook's recently updated its formatting and has allowed us to see the exact audience of who's looking at our pages, which is a big thing for me in noticing that our primary audience is women in their 20s and 30s and into 40s as well, which was not what I expected. But that does mean that marketing I will probably be looking at changing the way we advertise online a little bit, just to try and fit those audiences a bit more. As for actual posts that have gone out, we've had a good mix of stuff. Obviously, there's not a great deal in terms of events that can go out, as we've already covered in the past. But we've made sure to try and keep the stuff active anyway. I've gone out of my way to go onto more marketplace stuff, because obviously, our marketplace is pretty important to the town. And you'll see, and I've, as mentioned in the report for the week beginning Monday, 14th of September, there's very little in terms of online listings for this region, even though it's quite popular elsewhere in the country. So we've pretty much got an untapped market there. And by going out, by sort of putting ourselves on the market quite literally online, we're able to advertise Thetford Marketplace a lot more, which I was pretty pleased to see and think has got a lot of potential for us. As for the other parts of the report, sorry, it's pretty much self-explanatory. We've had some pretty successful posts from Mark Webster posting about the creeping marshwort discovery, which I think I've said that right, as well as the water buffalo, and putting out the pumpkin carving challenge and the post that I put out at the start of last week about Dr. Alan Minns, which has received quite a bit of attention on both Twitter and Facebook.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm open now for comments, please. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Tom, for the report. Particular highlights for me this month were the post about Alan Minns, which was really interesting. I had a couple of people message me about that, and they were pleased to see a bit of Thetford's history that we don't talk about enough highlighted by the council, so that was really encouraging. And then obviously lovely to get the front page article in the local newspaper about the conservation work generally that the council is doing. So there's been some particular sort of pluses with advertising this month, which is really good to see. It occurred to me recently that I'm not clear as a councillor who's responsible for what when it comes to marketing that takes place at the council. And I suspect this is part of our marketing strategy conversation in a moment, but I will just mention it here. There's various different ways that we undertake marketing and communication as a council. And I think it'd be really beneficial if it was clear as to who was responsible for what. And I'll give you an example of that. I couldn't help but notice, and this is not a criticism, the rotunda in the town centre outside the post office. I walked to town one Saturday, and an event that took place in August, the poster was still up for that, and in the beginning of October. And okay, these things happen, but whose role is it to update the rotunda? Whose role is it to issue press releases? Who's responsible for social media? And one of the things I want us to sort of come to is sort of defined roles for who's responsible for what, so that we can be really timely. The press release, for example, about the creeping marshwood was sent to the Thetford and Brandon, but it wasn't sent to the About Thetford magazine. I knew about it, obviously I was quoted in it, so I requested it so that we could use it for the magazine. But we're not maximising all of our marketing opportunities. I know Leaping Hare still don't get given posters by the council. Other organisations don't as well. So I just wonder, maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit because it's a conversation for the next item, but I'm pleased with the marketing report that's there in terms of the online, particularly social media, but we need a plan of multiple engagement tools and clear as to who's responsible for what, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Is anybody else got a comment on why people are forming their points? Tom, on the pleased to see the audience capture information coming through from the social media channels. Can I just clarify? I mean, predominantly it shows an age range where we're hitting a greater audience. Are you looking to build that audience? Are we looking, subject to the event, build the other target groups?
Are you say building on a certain demographic? Do you mean we're looking to try and increase that demographic, or we're just trying to start catering towards that demographic more?
Well, that was what I was trying to clarify with your good self, because I may have misconstrued what you said, but I got the impression that you was looking to build. So for instance, on the town council audience data, we're particularly strong with the age range. I believe it's with females 35 to 44. So are we looking to grow that audience, or are we looking to the areas where we're weaker? So for instance, I think you look at men 18 to 24, just to pull one out, or to take it to the other end, 55 to 64. I was quite deliberate, by the way, to pick an age range I weren't in. But they're two areas where we don't have the reach. So we're looking to increase our reach subject to the matter with those sort of groups.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
In that instance, sorry to cut you off there.
No.
So in that instance, what I meant is that I would be. It's not huge tweaks, but it would change slightly how I word things on the Facebook posts to better suit the demographic we have currently. But because of course Facebook as a social media is generally more for the older audiences, whereas the Instagram is more angled towards the younger ones. So we would probably change slightly how things are worded depending on the social media platform, so we can hit all the demographics as well as possible.
Thank you, Tom. And all this is organic reach rather than anything we've boosted to a target audience. Yeah,
no, there's nothing boosted in here. This is all still free marketing at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Colleagues, is there any more, please? Any further comments? Okay, then. Thank you very much for that, Tom. Thank you. So that moves us on, colleagues, to our next item. It neatly follows on from the previous item 38820, which is the marketing strategy, to receive and discuss marketing strategy report. David, would you like to kick this off, please?
Yeah, this is something that was just asked to bring to the table in terms of how we address those things. Just to pick up some points from Councillor Jeremy, he's absolutely right. This is all part of the process to develop a consistent approach. There is a difference between an overarching strategy and some of the issues that he was concerned about, which actually are part of individual marketing campaigns. In terms of the strategy, it's just agreeing that what are the products that what are the deliverables, and that's your first big hurdle. With a town council, it's not as simple as, we have a can of soft drink and that's our product, and how are we going to market, how are we going to take that to market? The council actually has a multitude of deliverables within their remit, and we have obligations and ambition to deliver services such as public amenities, cemeteries, allotments. We deliver town events. We try and communicate the wider townscape and the history and heritage. Dr. Alan Minns was a classic example of what we should be doing. There are other issues that we need as a council to determine whether we want to help, well, not help, but we want to deliver in our own right, promotion of community and business organisations, because there are other parties that deliver a local business directories. So therefore, should it be a support to that, and we cross-market those that they're actually delivering now? So we have to understand what the deliverables are and then determine what our marketing campaigns around that are. Now, in some respects, and we've had discussions before, certain councillors have brought up the question of committees actually go ahead with their own priorities and subvisions and things like that, but collectively as a town council, we don't have an overarching vision. So maybe that's where we need to start. Maybe we need to get together and determine what that is, and then it gives focus to subcommittees to understand what their priorities are and therefore what their deliverable priorities are. So we can then determine what marketing plans we need to invoke. Now, these are the options that we could technically or can currently deliver. Some of those are in development stage. You can see podcast videos. I was hoping that we would further the development of our little media suite in the top of the Guildhall this week, but other events have taken priority. So that will continue over the next couple of weeks. But once we have that facility, then we can move into trying to develop weekly, monthly, quarterly podcasts. Digital monitors, we've talked about digital monitors around the town, but currently all we have is the one in the entrance of the Carnegie, but it is a digital monitor that we can use for marketing and communication purposes. We've dabbled with the idea of e-newsletters, not particularly successful. So should we engage with those people who can and try and support and develop our presence with those? Traditional advertising, yes. Again, Terry's totally right in terms of, are we capitalising on all the partners within the town to try and deliver a coordinated strategy and a means to get our message out? I think we're doing okay with social media. It's something that was challenged to us a few years ago, and I think we've risen to that challenge, but we're certainly falling short on others. The website, we'll have a discussion in a second about what we do with the website. But as we go along with determining what our deliverables are, then we can actually determine what the individual marketing campaigns are. And we might use all or a few of those marketing and communication mediums. But picking up on the other point that Terry made, we are a small team across the whole council. And as a council, we are ambitious and progressive, and we have developed over the last few years to do a lot more than what we did when I first joined the council. And because sadly Ros Barnett is leaving the council, we are currently got an opportunity to conduct a staff review of responsibilities. It's not a secret amongst the staff. We've had that discussion with them. We need more involvement with councillors in that, potentially. But again, my purpose is to try and create that centre focus of an individual who will take on media and marketing. Currently, there are 3 people that if we're trying to deliver a news story, any one of those 3 could be involved, and that's inconsistent. So we need someone who is the go-to person that takes charge, and others might be called in to support that, but we need a more consistent approach. Consistency seems the big factor across the council at the moment, and we need to try and address this. But going forward, you will have the go-to person within my team that will be involved in charge of media and marketing. So hopefully that will improve. But this as a strategy is just to identify the means of communication that we use, and then going forward, we develop individual marketing campaigns. So I don't know whether anybody's got any questions so far.
Okay, thank you for that, Dave. I'll kick off with just making a comment. That last slide is really useful, actually, and it is. It's a useful toolkit to see how we can work. The only thing I would suggest is missing from it, though, is partners, and I would suggest the arrows need to go both ways on that, and that's the only thing I would add to that toolkit. But I'm going to throw this open to colleagues before I come back any further. Colleagues, questions, comments, please.
Yeah, Mark, if I can come in, Stuart here.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, I think we're going along the right lines, and you know, I think there's some. Dave's right. We need to have some lines of responsibility, and it links back to Terry's point earlier that you need a go-to person that you can go and hammer on their door and say, "Why aren't we doing this?" I think the previous slide alluded to the fact about the promotion of things happening in the town. It's not just about the town council itself. We would like to obviously promote. Just take the example of Jane's bookshop. Now, obviously, there's a bit of nepotism there, but I think we would all like to wish her well and like to promote that. And similarly, any other new business in the town, I think we would like to promote. And I know there's always issues about, are we promoting somebody who's got a business interest unfairly in respect of others, but I think we need to probably work a bit more on this in terms of criteria to give that go-to person the guidance going forward. So if we have a new business, then I think we as a town council should flag it up and tell everybody about it. If it's an existing business, then probably not, because you'll have everybody banging on your door wanting to do things. But if it's a new venture, then I think the town council ought to be supporting it. It might be a new business offering, or an existing business offering a new service. So I think there's a bit of work to try and give that person the guidance to do. But I do think we as a town council ought to be helping those businesses if they are, especially in this current environment, struggling. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Anybody else?
If I can jump in there, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree with what Stuart's just said, and I also agree with the partnership arrangement. So that I don't know whether you've set up this partnership group yet and had a talk together, but I think that there are partners in town where you can work with them, where they will advertise your stuff, you advertise their stuff, and basically it'll also, if you're doing events, it might stop, too many events on one day. So I agree with a partnership arrangement, because no money needs to change hands, because you're all working together, sorting it all out. So, I think that's the way to go, is work in partnership with other organisations, celebrating what's good about the town.
Thank you, Brenda. Terry.
Thank you, Chairman. Hopefully you can hear me. It's absolutely chucking it down outside, and all I can hear is the rain coming down. But thank you, David, for the marketing strategy. I appreciate it's the first stab, so hopefully you'll take my comments as being productive and helpful. But these are all just my opinions, so that's all I have to offer. But I have made some notes, so I have a couple of things which I wanted to go through. Just on the idea of sort of a marketing type role. It's quite amusing because I've just managed to get up on the internet. Not so many years ago, of course, we had a plans, projects and communications officer whose role included marketing and communications. That person, of course, is now the town clerk. And I assume we didn't, we made a conscious decision not to replace that role when that change happened. So interesting how if you're around for long enough, it sort of goes round in circles in many ways. I've read the report and I made some notes. Firstly, around what the purpose is, and I do appreciate that there is a need for us to have a bit more of a vision. At county and district level, of course, you have a corporate plan, and councillors are asked to feed into that, and you literally have to vote to adopt the corporate plan. I always think it'd be quite useful as a town council if we did that at the start of a 4-year term and you all come together having just stood for election and won, what do you want to achieve? Some people have aspirations and ambitions to do certain things. I remember Colin Burnett specifically stood because he wanted a play area for Vicarage Road. Had a conversation with him about that. And we don't do that, and I think that's a shame. But we do need to have a bit of a vision. That said, I don't think that's the whole reason why we don't have a marketing strategy currently. I was interested by the title marketing strategy because I think what I'm probably personally after more is a communications plan, which could be the same as a marketing strategy, but for me it sounds a bit simpler and explains what it is. I want to see a plan which highlights the methods available to us for communication, which is partly what we've got on screen here today. Costed, bearing in mind the budget that we've got, and we know how often we can afford to do newsletters and posters and that sort of thing. Linked with our plan for the year, we know when our big events are and when we might need to be doing some publicity. We have a meeting calendar for the year, so we know when we need to be diarising to update the website and to post things on social media. And also something that recognises that we've got a couple of different roles as a council. One is about promoting Thetford and brand Thetford, if you like, and the other is about communicating what we are doing as a council and sort of reporting back to the people that pay us money to provide services for them. So one is about making Thetford look good, and I think the Alan Binns post was a really good example of that. The other is this is what we are doing, taxpayers of Thetford, with your money. We're doing conservation work on common land, and this is what you're getting from it. I think the communications plan is really key, and I would want us to look at the different things that we have: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, press releases, the rotunda, posters, and the website. Who's responsible for leading on each of them? Because it's not necessarily the same person. When do we need to be communicating with them? And just have a bit more of it sort of mapped out, basically, is what I would be after. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla.
Thank you, Chair. I do agree, Councillor Jeremy, and we do need a more rounded approach, whether we call it a communications system, whatever that may be. It does need to include all aspects of the marketing and the communications of the council. It does make a valid point. It's about how we communicate what we do and how we do it, and with who's or which money we do it to the public, because ultimately that's what they're going to ask us about. That's what they're going to concern themselves with. And just another point that in regards, he mentioned that the previous communications or person that was in their remit then became the clerk, and I don't think the posters have been quite ever filled up. That is our concern, that we are now losing another member of staff, which Ross is now leaving. And my point is we ought to be very careful not to leave another open gap on services and not to replace that post as well, and just kind of overload or subdivide that workload by amongst the other officers at the same time. By giving them extra responsibilities, it means that they will not be able to pay full attention, or the person not have the capability of fully dedicate themselves to do one task really well done when they have to stretch themselves and do 100 tasks in one go, which is a concern. I'm not sure if this is something that should be raised in personnel when it comes to how we staff the different areas of the council and who should be doing what, but it's perhaps something we can look at as a council, as a full council in the months coming forward. So yeah, it's basically about not leaving any gaps in provision. As it seems as a council, they are already quite strained, and we are lacking people to cover certain tasks, let alone losing the ones we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I can't see anybody's hands up, so I'll take this opportunity to come in myself. I think it's interesting actually, because we don't need to overcomplicate this. We need a toolkit to reach our audience, our selected audience. What I was going to flag up actually, I was going to highlight within the report, I think we may be mixing apples and oranges, because for instance, on the examples given for marketing expenditure, we include band fees and staff events. They're not marketing. They're not marketing, so they're actually part of the event plan. They would be incorporated into the event delivery plan and the overall cost of the event. So if you look at the way I would read it, in example 1 and example 2, it's the same figure. The actual we haven't included any cost for in-house time and production, but the cost actually should be £150 on both examples given. And secondly, I'm sure we're going to pick this up in the next item actually, but we identify 4 possible websites and a significant part of our budget. And box office also has been included there, but I would have thought box office would actually at least be cost neutral. So I would just maybe we need to revisit the financials on the report. But I think this is a really good starting point actually, and I do suspect we will come back to this to finalise it. I think in one of the earlier items, Councillor Jeremy, you suggested we would come back to this in January, if I'm correct.
Well, I think it's guided by David on how much time he has available to update it, and to, we could say November, but if that doesn't give enough time for him to do the work, then that's fairly pointless.
Yeah. I'm conscious that we got capital expenditure projects on the agenda in November, but as a special Christmas treat, members, I'm always happy to have a VEM meet in December if we need to.
I think David's got his hand up, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I can't see David. Sorry, David.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, I think if you're looking at the report that was circulated, that element that you've just been talking about, Chair, is alluding to the next stage, which I call a marketing campaign. Terry calls a marketing plan. It doesn't make any difference in terms of titles, but this is the next stage. So the strategy identifies the mediums that we use, and partnerships is clearly a good one to extend that by. But what I can do is I can give you a copy of the overall marketing campaign, if you like. So if we was to deliver an event, we would then look at the timeline of a marketing campaign and what mediums of promoting and communicating that event we will use. We may not use all of those you see on the screen. We may use some. And Terry's right. Some determine general communication of what the council are about. Some are more specifics in terms of events that we agree to deliver. And you're right, Chair. Some of them are cost neutral, because within an event plan, we also do an event costing. And actually, if we was to place advertising, for instance, that would be, and that was the example I tried to give. I mean, my mathematics might be wrong, but the principle is the same. We would cost that in, so that eventually would be cost neutral if the event's successful and we generate the income that we choose. So there is differentials in terms of how we deliver it, and that's your marketing campaign. But I can give you a sort of an outline plan of what a marketing campaign is. In terms of the reference to the PPPC, And in the end, I was here when that post was evolved, and we went triple P and C because it was too difficult to say. But actually, that's a classic example of the town council. I mean, they all are referenced to different elements of the job. That person did cover marketing communications, but it was only one element of her job. She had planning and other elements as well. And what I'm trying to do is, sitting under my remit will be someone who will be in charge of media and marketing. And it will be that person that will look at the campaign and say that we need to update the rotunda. And collectively, we will talk to the staff that may be around the town centre doing benches and bins and things that can just put some posters up in the rotunda. So it's not difficult, but someone needs to take control of that and charge of that and work to a dedicated campaign. And that's the next stage of this. So if I can, what I'll do is I'll send round what the campaign looks like, and it literally is a tick box of the mediums we use along a timeline. I know Terry was talking about, what is our marketing plan for the Guildhall? Well, the Guildhall at the moment is not going to reopen until possibly March or April next year, because we're now going to start the external works. So, but we are already looking at when is the ideal time to create that timeline of marketing, communication, promotion of things that will happen about the Guildhall when we reopen. Do it too early, people will forget. They'll just see fencing outside. Do it at the right time and we generate real interest. So that's what the campaign's all about. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Carla, did you put your hand up a second time?
I did, but it was just a quick comment that it might be that by tweaking with committees the responsibilities of who's covering what, we also have to tweak with the categories of the budgets. And I think that's the moment is all a bit undefined. We're still trying to work out which budgets go in which committee because it's all fairly new, the new restructuring. That was all.
Thank you, Carla. So I'll attempt to summarise. So we've got a good starting point here, I believe. We've identified a toolkit. We need to work on developing our partnerships and how we work with other organisations. You know, not just the ones that have been mentioned, but there is other organisations within the charitable sector that we can work with as well in a mutually beneficial way. Develop that, and also I think I've heard the comment twice about who actually has responsibility for what, where it's the rotunda, whether it's the online marketing, the offline marketing, etc. And I don't think I heard in that. Will that be coming back in January, David, or would you like to bring it back soon? I'm very conscious of your workload.
I think what I'll do, if it's okay, is outside a specific committee, we can share some of this information across the committee councillors so we can get input as an ongoing process, and then we'll bring back this item. I did say the 3 items that we had on the forward plan were going to be like this. They're all going to be initial phase discussions, but certainly I can bring back at the next meeting the next stage, i.e. what does a marketing campaign look like? Are we headed? I mean, you've already made a great reference in including partnerships, and we need to identify who those partnerships could be. You're going to have the same input into what is a marketing campaign, you know. So yeah, we can keep this as an ongoing agenda item. Hopefully not as long as we've talked already, but but yeah.
Thank you, Terry. You got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with all of that. I just wanted to suggest a couple of sort of tangible actions, I suppose, because I always think with these things there is a danger of overthinking it. You know, we're not talking about the marketing strategy for Coca-Cola or you know, something like that. It's fit for town council. Three suggestions really, David. When we issue a press release as a council, what is the list of people that we send it to? Can we expand on that? And some of that will be, as Mark suggests, partners. You know, do some of our partners want to be in receipt of our press releases so they know what we're up to. I would suggest that the current list of recipients for Town Council press releases isn't sufficient. When we produce a poster, what is the list of locations that that poster goes to? Do we automatically put it up on the Carnegie and Guildhall notice boards? I assume we do. Do we put it on the Rotunda? Do we put it, drop a copy off to Leaping Hare? Do we email it to partners? Because again, several partners of different community venues, adult education regularly sends me posters to go up about training courses, so we're missing a trick there. So that's a very easy thing to do, a list of poster recipients. And can we knock together a calendar for the year which merges with the events programme, which was tabled at Civic last week, but also merges with the meetings calendar that we all know about because we adopt the same meetings. And then you can work back from that of when key actions need to occur. If you know the dates of the meeting, you'll know what date the agenda has to be issued by because it's enshrined into law. So you could easily work out when the website needs to be updated and when somebody needs to be posting on social media, the dates and the copy of the agenda that goes out. I might suggest that there are 3 very simple actions that would make a big difference and actually improve our communication significantly. Thank you.
Would you like to come back on that, David?
Yeah, I can come back on that, and I wholeheartedly agree with how you've communicated that, because that, in a nutshell, is a marketing campaign. So we're probably just terming the same thing differently. All of those categories that you see on the slide, we just then need to decide what constitutes the traditional advertising. So it's notice boards, it's about Thetford, it's Thetford and Brandon. And basically the campaign gives that person responsible those actions to tick. Have we put it in that notice board? Have we put it out to the Thetford and Brandon? And we can all see that it's all been covered, so we don't make a mistake. I would also say that with the campaign, we will run a green, amber and red. As we get nearer the events, the red determines a stronger campaign to try and get people to, well, it's a call to action, really. Your last time to buy tickets to this, or don't miss out on Christmas Light Switch On. So essentially, Terry, I think we're on the same lines, but we actually have to have that mechanism where we can, where you guys can scrutinise it and make sure that we've actually delivered the areas where we should do to make it successful.
Thank you for that. I just want to check in with the rest of the committee that you're okay with those actions going forward. I can't imagine there'd be any disagreement on that. I'll take that. That eerie silence is golden. Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you for your contributions. Item 389/20 is our website, to discuss and review the current website. I think this is definitely going to be a piece we don't finish today. David, have you had a sip of water before you go?
No, I'm fine. Again, this is just taking one element of that overall concept of various different lines of communication, the website, and there is, it's 6 years old, and it might not sound a long time in the scheme of things, but with technology it is. And there are lots of issues that have been highlighted recently. It is a very difficult site to sometimes find documentation because it's not particularly easy. So it's probably pertinent at this time to all look at it, reflect on what the needs are to go forward, what concerns you've got, how would you like to see the new website, whether we then cost up tweaking what we've already got, or we actually say, it's been great up to this stage, but we start again and design a brief to go out to web designers or options. I mean, I've talked to a few designers in terms of maybe scrapping it and starting again. And I did send round a couple of examples earlier, and Terry sent round another website earlier today that I've had a look at, which is Oswestry. I don't know whether I've said that right, but that's a great website. Have a look at it. It's really clean, clear, easy to navigate, and it does all the things that potentially we want. And it's so easy to find consultation documents. It's so easy to find relevant agendas and minutes. So have a look at that. And if it's something like that that we need, honestly, the guys I've been talking to, costs are not prohibitive. We can start again if we want to, or we go down the route of trying to tweak what we've got. So as you said, Chair, it's not something we're going to sort out today, but it's a process that we need to start, and we need to undertake a review of ideas from councillors, staff and other users of our website now to understand their concerns.
Thank you, David. I can't see any hands up at the moment, so
I would like to say something, Mark. Sorry.
Brenda, it's okay. Brenda,
Yeah.
I'll just, mine's only a small point, so then I'll pass over to you if that's okay. I think the challenge for us, actually, because of the world we move in, we're quite familiar with public body websites and the feel and how they look. But the challenge for us is actually to view it as an end user would use it, a resident, and accessibility for our residents, you know, and ease of access will probably be, for me, one of the key points. I took the opportunity to briefly look at the, it's a Welsh website, isn't it? Oh no, Midlands. I do apologise. It's in the Midlands, the website that you sent through, Terry. And one of the things that impressed me the most on that straight away was the fact that it had an accessibility button to enable this disabled community to engage, you know, and it's the first time I've seen that example, actually, and it was a really useful. So there's several good examples out there. Harpington is a good example. Ely's another, both not too far from us, and I don't think any one of them provides the perfect answer. I recently looked at Wisbeach as well, which has got some good aspects to it as well. So yeah, I would suggest that for me would be a good starting point, that we actually try and view the website the end user would use it, not necessarily as people, you know, with flesh in the game would look at it. Brenda.
I just before I say what I was going to say, I agree with everything you just said.
Should we stop here?
I can find it easier. I find it easier to go on gov.uk, you know, when you're looking at government, than what to get on to find something on the town council. I really find it hard. I give up in the end and ask Jenny to tell me where it is. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It needs to be easier. I think Dennis has the same problem. He can't get through the town council one. What I wanted to say was, I think from you, Chair, there should be a recommendation going through to all the committees that are going to be meeting in November, and to bring up this subject and them to send through any of their thoughts.
Thank you, Brenda. Has anybody else got any comments? Terry, thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of observations. I was amazed in the marketing report the cost allocated for hosting fees and subscriptions. I must confess, I'll be absolutely honest, I didn't even know there was a Carnegie website, so I've looked it up today. I assume there's a separate Guildhall one, which I haven't managed to find. I think the key with a good website is, rather than paying all these different hosting fees, why can't we have one good website? So that would be an aspiration of mine, to try and merge some of these things together. And also something I've learned, certainly with the Town Council website, is there are certain documents which people ask for more often than not. So I think a lot of good websites have a section where sort of, you know, regularly requested information or regularly requested forms. I would suggest something like the small grants application form and the bins, benches and whatever it's called, street furniture application form. Have a think about the things that we're asked for the most and put them in one place. But there's so much on there. That's part of the problem. I mean, there's minutes from, you know, years ago which just, can be on there somewhere, but archived and put out of the way, the things that are not regularly referred to. That would be really useful. And then something on the homepage which clearly outlines what's recently been added. I think the real downside of the Town Council website is the main front page never changes. You don't know when it's been updated with a new document or a set of minutes or a set of agendas. So for me, that's quite important. I think probably the big difference 6 years on from when it was done is the syncing with social media. I'm not clever enough to fully understand all of that. Perhaps Tom and Joe probably know better than I do. I suspect some of these companies that are interested, the way our website syncs with our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram and our YouTube can be significantly better. I've seen lots of good examples of that. So I'm happy that we look at it. I'm always nervous about costs. We spent a fortune on it before, but we do need to make sure it's fit for purpose. So I'm quite happy with the suggestion that we start to pull something together. Thank you.
Thank you. I've now got Stuart, David and Carla in that order, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think following up from Terry's point, really, it's not just a quick fix here. I think we've got a long task finish group situation to look at the needs, look at other examples, to keep things fresh. Terry's right about the Twitter feeds and things like that, which can be embedded now within the website to keep it live. So I think we do need to have some time spent looking at this and all the needs that are needed. I don't think we can just deal with it as an item in this committee. I think it's probably a task finish group of getting some heads together and start working some documents together.
Thank you, Stuart. David?
Yeah, there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, the council have got lots of different aspects of their responsibilities and duties. So the reason we built the Carnegie web portal was just to try and take some of that focus away. We wanted to emphasize on events and things like that. We are building a similar site for the Guildhall. It's not those two websites that cost the money. That the 90% of the fees that you see in that report are around our current Town Council website. It's astronomical, really, looking at some of the opportunities that can be afforded to us now. I think, everything changes in terms of cost, etc. And I know Perry's fears in terms of when we changed from the old Explore Thetford to the current site. The old Explore Thetford was astronomical cost to put together, and we did pay a substantial amount of money for this. I can assure you, if we did go down the route of an alternative, it's nowhere near those costs, and it would save us quite a bit on what we pay now, and therefore we can put it to better use within the marketing plan.
Thank you. Carla?
Well, Mr. Brooks already answered a couple of points I was going to make, which is saving on costs by consolidating information in a much more user-friendly website, which, like Councillor Jeremy said, we need something that is accessible for the public, that is easy for them to actually find what they're actually looking for, which at the moment is a bit of a muddle. And if we look into the example of how people confuse the responsibilities of the three councils, there's always the issue. What does the Town Council do? What does the Brecon Council do? What does County Council do when it is streets or lights or parks or whatever? If it's hard enough for the public to make a distinction, what's the responsibilities of different councils? You can imagine that by having multiple websites that all belong to one council, people will become really confused about what sits in the remit of the council. I do understand Mr. Brooks' point that they wanted to promote a certain area of events, but actually a full, wider, functional website, which probably will be lower cost nowadays, like they mentioned, could encompass the different subsections and different areas of the council, including, sites, locations, and events on those sites. And actually, as long as the system is user-friendly and easy to navigate, everything can be encompassed in one single website, from my point of view. And actually make it easy for people to understand what comes under the remit and what comes under the responsibilities in the different branches of the council work and the commercial side as well, rather than trying to make them understand that different sites out there may or may not be the council and just confusing the public, which quite frankly they already are confused enough for the majority of the times with what we do anyways. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
No, I'll take those points from Councillor Barreto. They're all, they're all things to consider. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm quite keen. I would recommend that colleagues, if they haven't already, we've already identified some examples of good practice with other authorities. I think it was Harpenden where I actually see the use of a rolling banner at the top of the page. So this is just a suggestion. That's how they were getting coverage of their events, the softer side of council, away from what we have to do legally, because we're in a unique position. There are, as a local authority, there are things we have to do for our residents, which are legal requirements on our behalf, and then there's the other side. There's the social element that we provide for our residents, and it's quite a balancing act. In regards to your proposal, Brenda, I'm going to look for a more informal way of facilitating that, if you don't mind, because I'm conscious that if we put a recommendation to all the other committees, we've then got to wait for this to go through a cycle of committee meetings, and I don't really want to lose momentum. So I think you're quite right to identify and invite comment from the rest of our colleagues that are not part of this committee. But I would look for, maybe we can facilitate that in a different way, whether that's just as simple as an email out to colleagues, making them aware that VEM's reviewing the website and ask for their thoughts and feed them back into David, whether it's a survey that we formulate and ask them for their views on specific subjects. But as I say, unless anybody else has a different steer, I think taking it through a cycle of committee meetings is going to slow our momentum. And I don't know if anybody's got. I haven't got any more hands up on that, so I've probably numbed you into sleep there. There's nobody got any comments on the back of that?
No, that all sounds fine. There's lots that we can be getting on with, I think.
Excellent.
I agree.
Okay.
Fine for now.
David, just yourself, are you comfortable with our way forward?
Yeah, just an initial survey to start the process off, I think, is the best way.
Excellent stuff. And you've quite rightly identified this is the initial stages of this. You'll be getting plenty of offline comment from me, I'm afraid, David. So sorry to depress you. But when an indicative timeline when this comes back for us to start making decisions?
I think we need to move it on fairly quickly. So I'll try and get a survey out to people by the end of next week, and then hopefully we can at least get some responses back for next month's meeting, and let's take it stage by stage.
Okay, thank you. I have no other comments on that item, so thank you very much, colleagues, for that. Item 39/20 is community engagement. Is to discuss and agree any consultation on media release required. So is Tom still with us?
I am.
Tom, is there a need to reach out, and particularly around the conversations we've had with around engaging with partners around the pumpkin event for next week? I know it might be too short a timeline.
With regards to what exactly?
The promotion of the event.
Promotion of the event. Well, I've got the email ready to go as soon as we finish this meeting out to all the councillors. In that regard, reaching out would be, being able to spread it that way would be ideal. But we have already hit quite a few audiences with it, and it's already gone out to a lot of our, a lot of the regular places that we would need to put the event out to. I've been in contact with Andrew from Tesco, who is obviously the sponsor of the event, by providing the pumpkins for it. Okay. So I think in that regard, to cut the answer short, is that I think we are fine as we are at the moment, personally.
Sorry, this specifically around press releases, because I know, for instance, we have a very proactive young reporter in Emily Thompson, the EDP. So about. Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. You're ahead of the game.
That was Joe.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Sorry. It's a very good impression of Tom. Colleagues, is there anything else you feel merits covering under this item? Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, can I just check where we're at with the profiles of market traders that we agreed last month?
Yes. So if I can jump in on that one. So me and Mark had scheduled to meet last Tuesday to meet with the new market traders that were coming out, as well as do some videos on the traders that are on the marketplace. However, thanks to the less than optimal weather, it made it quite hard to get anything going. We decided to hold it off until it wasn't a wet day, and for when because due to the weather, the new traders that we were looking for hadn't come along that week. So once they do come along, we'll be making sure to do that.
Can I just say, it is always the case with market traders that weather is, you know, a deciding factor of whether the casuals come to trade. But I have just been informed yesterday that we've got another new trader arriving next week. So again, it might be a really good idea, Tom, if we can get out and cover that one as well, as a new trader leading up to Christmas is critical. But yeah, it is weather dependent. It's a shame because we've had a good presence, and then the deluge of rain and wind and stuff have driven some away, but they'll be back.
David, what is the new traders addition to the market?
They're looking to sell vintage clothing, I think.
Excellent. So that's a great ad.
Yeah. Again, it's a bit, you know, it's a bit quirky. We've had the girls from the Toy Den there. You know, there are other people who are looking, probably the lead up to Christmas, which is absolutely fine. But hopefully we'll get a few more along.
So we seem to be back in the trend on markets at the moment.
Well, the problem with the markets, it is up and down. We are going to go into the worst weather season, so we'll have to wait and see. But certainly leading up to Christmas, I think we could have as long as it's not torrential rain and stuff, we could have a good sprinkling of stalls again. But yes, we do need to get their profiles out there. I mean, that was another thing actually that was highlighted on the Oswestry website. There was an actual bit about markets, and they do seem to specialise in farmers markets, artisan markets, and things like that. But when you looked at the page, there was a specific link to markets, which is again what we want to do.
Thank you. I think we might have strayed slightly off the actual subject there, but thank you.
Can I just jump in there, Chairman, before you move on?
Please do.
Just to flag for David and others, if you want a really good example of market publicity, on Twitter, the Swaffham Market Superintendent has their own Twitter profile, and they do amazing work photographing goods and profiles of traders. I'm always keen to promote our own market, but should I venture elsewhere, I shall certainly be going to Swaffham because, you know, they make their market look very enticing. So that'd be a really good example to learn from. Maybe have a conversation with them about how they do it. But fingers crossed for better weather.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, that moves us on to our final item, 391/20, which is committee officers update. And that's to receive any information since the agenda was released. Over to you, David.
No, there's nothing to report there.
Well, that was brief and succinct. Thank you, David. Well, at this point, then, I will conclude the meeting. I thank you all for your contributions and attendance. Stay safe, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Terry and Mark, can we just ask you just to hold on a second until...